My name is Annie McKenna. I'm a registered dietitian nutritionist. I am here today to talk to you, hopefully simplify some things for you and put things in perspective as to how we can make a healthy you, how we can create healthy change and then prevent disease. So with further ado, we'll get started. And I too wanted to have, let's see, this is our, oh, there we go. I'll just do it that way. So I too thought, Monica, we should definitely start with a prayer. And I found this great prayer in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Lord, you are my strength and all power belongs to you. I pray for a strong and vigorous body that can easily do hard work, engage in exercise, and has a strong resistance against illness. I thank you, I am grateful, and I trust in you. St. Charles Borromeo, pray for us. He is one of the patron saints of nutritionists, dietitians, weight loss, healthy living, all of those good things. So I am going to talk today, like I said, about keeping it simple, because we want to keep it simple so that it's sustainable, so that it's successful. We don't want to expect everything to change tomorrow, because when we have those expectations, we usually are left disappointed. Nothing changes overnight. So remember, it takes time. It takes time to make change, and it takes time for change to happen. And a lot of that time is in our own hands on how we carve out the time in our day and our schedules and our weeks to live a healthy lifestyle. So there are many benefits to healthy living. Let's see if I can change my thing. There we go. Benefits to healthy living. Most of you probably already know this, but obviously you have better physical health when you live healthy, when you live a healthy lifestyle. You're going to have better mental health. Better attitude, better mood when you live in a healthy lifestyle, when you are living a healthy lifestyle. You'll have increased energy, you'll have an increased longevity. So not only will you feel better during your life, but you'll live longer. You can have improved focus, both at work and at play. You have an improved immune system, the ability to fight off disease. You will sleep better if you lead a healthy life. And these are just the big wins when it comes to living healthy. There's also lots of little micro wins of other things that happen to your life when you can live a healthy lifestyle. But the alternative to that then is what happens to our bodies if we land in the predicament of being overweight or obese, which is a primary focus of my talk today, in the sense that when we lend ourselves to becoming overweight or obese, we have a significant increase in many chronic diseases. Most of these chronic diseases related to overweight or obesity can be prevented. So type 2 diabetes, for example, is very much a preventable disease. Not 100%, there are instances where you cannot prevent it. But in most cases, type 2 diabetes is preventable by healthy lifestyle. Dyslipidemias, high cholesterol, high triglyceride, high low density lipoproteins, all things that are consequences to overweight and obesity. Cancer risk for many cancers, mood disorders, depression, often associated with overweight and obesity, heart disease, reproductive disorders, liver disease, hypertension. As you can see, the gamut of chronic diseases that are greatly influenced and often preventable if we can prevent the consequence of overweight and obesity. Sad to say that our life expectancy is decreasing in the United States. Used to be, consistently, our life expectancy would increase because we became a healthier nation. We were more active, we ate healthier food, we prevented other diseases, maybe with decreased smoking. But in the last 2 to 3 years, we have seen a decrease in life expectancy. Most of this is associated with preventable chronic disease, especially things like heart disease and diabetes. So for example, in 1980, the life expectancy was 74 years of age. And by 2019, the life expectancy was 77 years of age. And since 2019, we've seen a decrease back to about 74, 75 years of age. Not something that we want to hear about, especially when we know it is preventable. Now, I wanted to briefly just show you this picture about overweight and obesity. There's a lot of new talk, or lots of recent talk, about BMI not being a great indicator of overweight and obesity. And in some situations, it is not. It is often necessary for clinical judgment to take into account a person's body type and their physical fitness. For example, I often use my husband in some of my classes that I teach at Franciscan University as my example. He would be considered an overweight in the overweight category, but he has very dense bones and he has lots of muscle mass. And when that happens, our body mass index may not be an indicator. But in most people, it is a good indicator of looking at overweight or obesity in relation to risk for chronic disease. So as you become more overweight, your risk for chronic disease increases, specifically and directly relates to type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and often hypertension. So important measures that we know about that we can use as tools to help people realize their risk and hopefully decrease their weight. The other indicator of risk for chronic disease would be things like the body shape. So we have two examples of body shape here, an apple shape or a pear shape. So the apple shape is a more visceral fat that tends to keep itself around the middle. So it's often above the belt, and the person maybe has more of an apple shape to their torso. So the weight is above the belt, and that individual would have a higher risk for chronic disease, specifically type 2 diabetes and heart disease, than perhaps an individual that has a pear-shaped body. So somebody that holds their weight, often women, below the belt, below the waist. So that would be most of the weight being held in the legs, the rear end, and the hips. And those individuals, although they might have the same overweight qualification or of BMI, they're not as high of risk of developing chronic disease. So it's important to know the difference because we can really narrow in specifically people with an apple shape that have a higher risk of these diseases. We really want to work hard if you have that, or if you fall into that category, that you realize, okay, I'm at a higher risk. It's time for me to take charge of my life, time to me to take charge of my health and make some changes to prevent chronic disease. Remember, chronic disease, we spend, I think in our country, it's $4.1 trillion annually in the treatment of chronic disease, of which most of those chronic diseases are preventable. Not all of them, but most, especially if we look at weight, smoking, and alcohol use. Most of that are choices related to behavior. So we look at the money that we spend in the healthcare system, as well as then the chronic disease and the management of that individual. So it's really heavy on my heart, heavy on my disposition in my field to help prevent chronic disease. Prevention is the key, not the treatment of the disease, but let's prevent it altogether. So that's what this is going to be a little bit more about, is how do we help people prevent disease? Well, we have to look and see where we stand right now. We're not looking so good in the United States. So in 2004, you can see on this picture over here of the United States, this is the percent of diagnosed diabetes and obesity in 2004. This color here is a very light color. All of these light colors over here in the corner, the left corner of this graph, show low percent obesity, low percent diagnosed diabetes. And our state is looking pretty good, not so bad. Granted, if we had compared 1984 to 2004, it would have been much lighter in color even than that, because our risk and our rate of diabetes and obesity has increased significantly since the early 1990s. But now we compare it to 2019, and we see here the difference in the darker colors coming into our states, into our country. Dark purples, all of these colors up here in the right-hand corner of this graph indicate an increased percent of obesity and an increased percent of diagnosed diabetes. So we have lots of these dark colors in our area, in most of the United States, very few of the light colors in the United States. So this tells us that we do have a bit of a problem. They do call it an epidemic when it comes to obesity. We have almost 40% of our country is overweight or obese. And this is another image looking at the obesity rate in 2021. So for example, we have here Kansas, right here, smack dab in the middle, dark red. 35 to 40% of people that live in Kansas are overweight or obese. And we have very few states with numbers in less than 25%. Very few states. So what does this tell us? It tells us that our country, at least 30 to 40% of the people in our country are overweight or obese. It's a bit of a problem, especially when we know that that is one of our biggest risk factors associated with the development of chronic disease. Once again, prevention of that is the key. So let's see, what is the obesity dilemma? Where did this come from, right? So the culture changed over the last 30 years, obviously in many ways. I'm just going to touch on the ones that are nutrition and obesity related. So our food culture has changed. We have an abundance of palatable, low cost, high calorie dense foods available all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, prepackaged, processed foods. We no longer have to wait at any time for any treat. We can get whatever we want, when we want, how much we want. So that has presented a problem. We eat out 2 to 3 times a week on average. And now we don't even have to eat out to bring the food to our house. We have DoorDash and all these other entrepreneurial businesses that will bring the food to our door. So I often ask my clients, so how often do you eat out? And they'll say, oh, 4 times a week. And then we'll get on talking a little bit more. And then I find out that not only do they eat out 4 times a week, but they order in at the office or at their home another 4 times a week. So then you have DoorDash or Wendy's or McDonald's or any food you want delivered directly to your door. What is that? Sugar, salt, fat. The consumption of soft drinks and snacks. Sugar, sugar, sugar. That's what we're putting into our bodies. So this has increased significantly over the last 20 years. It used to be that a soft drink might have been a treat that you got, maybe on Sundays when you went to grandma's house as a special treat, but now it is no longer a treat, it's a habit. And it's a habit that people have not just once a day, twice a day. I had a gentleman that I worked with that drank 2 liters of Mountain Dew every day. 2 liters. We also have change in time management. We are not making time to prepare food. We're not making time to eat healthy. We're not making time to be healthy. That has to do with our change in time management of how much time we spend at work and how little time we spend just managing our lives. And some people, I think, get almost a mixed message that if they spend more time at the grocery store making food, that they're not doing the other work that they think they should be doing. And I would say we need to change that attitude. It is so important that we spend time preparing food, shopping for food, eating with our families, eating healthy food with our families, that's just as important as so many of the other tasks that we do that are less significant in our life, especially when it comes to longevity and health. Doing the things that you want to do for a lifetime. If you become sick, if you get a chronic disease, type 2 diabetes or cardiovascular disease, the amount of time you have to spend now managing your chronic disease is significantly greater than if you had put that time in on managing yourself in a healthy lifestyle. Significantly great. But now you have to. You're pressed into it. You're forced into it because you're uncomfortable. Your body's uncomfortable. So the real goal here is convincing people how important it is to eat healthy and to live a healthy lifestyle so that they can be healthy for the longer period of time in their life and not have to spend the time managing a chronic disease. Sedentary lifestyle. Look at us, all sitting around, right? Well, sometimes we have to sit, right? Sometimes we have work to do, but we have taken it a little too far because not only do we sit when we work, but now we sit in our cars, we sit in our leisure time. And the research is showing that now when we have an opportunity to do something fun, we have some time off, we get to choose what we want to do. What do we choose to do? We choose to sit, play video games, watch binge shows, right? Some people are sitting 4 or 6 hours to watch 6 episodes of a show. So now our quality time that we used to spend having fun doing something, we're still sitting. And this has contributed significantly to our sedentary lifestyle. So our leisure time activities have changed. Portion sizes have increased significantly. And I will show you a great image that's showing how significant it has been, why this is a big problem for our obesity epidemic. Our food source has changed. Predominantly, sugar is added to everything. So sugar is added to not only the foods that you eat when you eat out, but for example, yogurt. Yogurt is known for being a healthy food. A lot of times people grab yogurt because they think they're eating healthy. But if you look at a yogurt food label, you're going to find that there is often as much as 6 teaspoons of sugar in one of those little small containers of yogurt. 6 teaspoons of sugar. And they use that because it's a filler. People like sugar. People are addicted to sugar, and sugar is cheap. So even when we try to eat healthy, that doesn't even work sometimes. And then there's obviously lots of changes going on in our agriculture on how to process food and do that more efficiently. And I think that in some ways they're doing us a disservice, and the food is not nearly as good as it could be. And that's what the agriculture system is doing. That's a whole nother webinar or 2 or 3. So I like this image. It's kind of puts things in perspective a little. The 1990s, we were kind of a leaner, thinner person with a big wide television. And now we are a little bit bigger of a person, and we have this beautiful flat screen TV. Okay, so portion size, one of our biggest culprits when it comes to nutrition these days, and why you or any of us would think, well, I'm just eating what's offered. I'm just eating what's there. Well, what we're getting offered and what we think is normal and healthy is way over the top of what we need. So if you look at the 1950s, we had a 7-ounce soda, a almost 4-ounce hamburger, and a 2.4-ounce little sleeve of French fries. You guys probably remember, some of you may remember those little tiny sleeves that you could get at McDonald's at French fries, reasonable portions. And now in the 21st century, what do we get? A 42-ounce soda, which is going to have, 50 teaspoons or more of sugar. A 12-ounce burger, 3 times the size of what we would have eaten in the 1950s, and a almost 7-ounce French fries. So we look at almost tripling, and in some sense more than tripling, the amount of food that we would eat. And so we went from this thinner culture of eating reasonable amounts of food to now eating these enormous amounts of food and a little bit more around the waistline, significantly more around the waistline. And the studies that they've done have been very interesting, because you think, well, why are we eating so much? Why would we need to eat all of this super size me food? And the studies have shown that when we are fed this small amount, we would eat that food. And if you ask the participant, how did you feel after eating the food? Were you satisfied? We are usually very satisfied with that amount of food. We don't need more. We're not still hungry. We've achieved a satisfaction. If we give the same participant this food a few weeks later and we ask them, how did you feel about that? Same response, satisfied with the food. So what we find is that people will eat what we give them. So when you go out to eat, typically your meal is presented to you, and if you sit and eat that meal, you most often will eat the entire thing, even if you don't need it, even if you get full, even if you're satisfied, right? So one of the hints that I'll give you right now is, some of you have probably heard this, when you eat out, always share your meal. There is no reason we should each have our individual meal for most places where we eat out, most places, unless you're going to fancy food and they're giving you small, reasonable portions. The other thing is you can always split your meal, get your meal, take half of it away, put it in the to-go box before you even started eating. So now what's presented to you is much less, and you will be just as satisfied. You won't feel the need that I'm still hungry. It's rare that you would say, well, I didn't get enough to eat. So 2 quick and easy hints on how to decrease your portion size when you eat out. Look at that picture. Ooh, I love this picture. I share this picture with everyone. Like I mentioned earlier, I teach nutrition to the nursing students. Well, I mentioned I teach at Franciscan, so I teach nutrition to the nursing students at Franciscan University, and they get bombarded with this picture. So one can of Coca-Cola has 9.5 teaspoons. Each one of those sugar cubes is a teaspoon, or 5 grams of sugar. So 9.5 teaspoons, 45 grams of sugar in one can of soda. And not only was that not enough, now we have the 16-ounce and the 20-ounce bottle of soda. 20-ounce bottle has 24, I think I wrote down, 16.5 teaspoons of sugar in a 20-ounce bottle of Coca-Cola. That's enough added sugar for 3-4 days in one bottle of soda. So for those of us that are drinking more than one, be wary. That's a lot of sugar, and sugar is one of our biggest culprits of diabetes and high triglycerides. So 42-ounce soda is 54 teaspoons of sugar. Lot of sugar. So back to my basics, back to what I want you to take away with this talk is really, we've got to keep it simple. Don't expect everything to change tomorrow, and remind yourself that it takes time. It takes time to make change, and it takes time for change to happen. So that's why waking up, starting Monday on a new program where you've decided to change 6 or 8 things in your life, it's unlikely that that's going to be sustainable, right? We have to keep it very simple, and we have to make changes repeatedly, consistently, over and over again, so that perhaps 6 months from now or a year from now, you are living a significantly healthier lifestyle. And this is why it's a challenge, especially for healthcare providers that only get to see their patients once or twice a year. Very, very hard to make change. Very difficult to make change. And when we keep it simple and successful, it will be sustainable, right? We want to make sure that we can sustain this. So who's going to do this? You're going to do this. All of us are going to do this, right? This isn't pointing fingers. This is everybody living a healthy lifestyle. What are we going to do? We're going to live a healthy lifestyle of our mind, body, and spirit. And where are we going to do this? Everywhere and anywhere. It's part of our life. It's no longer a component of our life. It is our life. It's a healthy lifestyle for now and forever. So it's not something that, for example, people might start a new diet and say, oh, I'm going to start a diet. My friends started this new diet and they said I should do it. They lost 10 pounds, so I'm going to start this new diet. The biggest challenge we have with that is when I start a diet, I eventually will stop a diet, right? I will go on a diet and I will come off a diet. We know that is not successful. That is called yo-yo dieting, right? Because what happens when you come off the diet, you haven't changed your habits. You haven't learned how to live healthy and eat healthy. You resume the weight that you already lost. It gets regained plus some more. And 2 years down the road, you're starting all over again with a new diet that you're going to go on and then come off. So the suggestion here, it's really not about dieting. It's about sustainable, healthy change so that you can live a healthy lifestyle. And why and how? Well, that's what we're here for today, is to listen and learn a little bit about how you can start and what that might look like for you. So when I looked up how to lose weight and get healthy on the internet, this is what I found. 3.5 billion websites. 3.5 billion. How can anybody decipher how to start eating healthy or being healthy when this is the information that we're bombarded with? You know, there's things like 6 hacks, the whole 30, HIIT exercise. You need rest. It's all about psychology. Make sure you have SMART goals. There's a diet now that suggests that if you get manicures and pedicures, the fat oils that are rubbed into your fingers and toes are absorbed into your body and create obesity. Very interesting, right? The Atkins diet, the 15 expert tips that you need, 3 steps to a healthy you, 24 days to 10 pounds of weight loss. You name it, it's out there and people believe it. So what I'm here to do, and what I hope that you can find from this talk, is we have to simplify all of these little gimmicks and ideas and suggestions about this. I need to do the intermittent fasting. I have to be on a gluten-free diet. I need to do paleo. I need to do ketogenic. I can only eat grapefruits on Tuesdays. There's so many things out there. We just have to simplify, because none of these things work if they're not sustainable. They have to be sustainable, right? So that's the biggest thing. What can I do in my lifestyle that is reasonable, simple, and sustainable to live a healthy life? And it's possible. It's possible. We've just made it too complicated. Too many gimmicks. So now what? How are we going to keep it simple yet sustainable? Well, the first thing I think is important for you to know is, what is your motivation, or what is your clients, your patients' motivation? So all of us need to know, what is the why behind you? What is the why that's going to help inspire you or help you create change? It could be a gamut of different things. Why do you want to make change? And so, for example, what is the grit behind your motivation? So for some people, it might be, well, I'm getting married, and so I'd like to be fit and healthy so that I can achieve a pregnancy at some point in my life. For some people, it might be, I have a new grandbaby and I want to be able to care for them and be with them. It could be, I have a sick mother or father and I want to be able to care for them. It could be a gamut of different things as to why we want to be healthy. I'm an older parent, so I need to keep up with my young child, right? So that's really important, that you figure out what's the grit, what's the motivation behind your intention of being healthy. I had a father with type 2 diabetes, and I had a father that died early onset with pancreatic cancer. So for me, it's a huge motivation for me to be healthy, because I saw what diabetes does to people, how much earlier he died than he had to. So that's really important for me to know. I'm at risk for type 2 diabetes, but also I'm going to do everything possible to prevent it, because it makes it very hard for families. So you want to write it down, whatever that motivation is, and you want to print it, or you want to write it on a piece of paper and post it to remind yourself of why you want to make change. That revisit that motivation. So why am I doing this anyway? When I don't feel well, when I'm busy and I want to, grab a bag of potato chips, or I'm just tired, and when I'm tired, I make bad health decisions. That's typical of all of us. So we need those reminders to, why am I doing this? Why do I want to be healthy? Accountability can be really important for many people. You and who do you want to bring along with you on this? Could be your spouse, a friend, a relative, a neighbor. It could be a healthcare professional. It could be a health coach. It could be somebody that you are accountable to. I do lots of nutrition coaching and health coaching on a weekly basis with individuals that want to touch base with me every week. What are the small things we're changing? What are the goals that are working? What's not working? What are the barriers? How do we get past those barriers? This is not a quick fix. This is not something that we can just tell our clients or our patients, well, here's a piece of paper, go ahead and follow it. It's not going to be successful. So we want to give them the connections, the people that can help them, so that they don't get bombarded with those 3.5 billion websites trying to tell them what to do, which they're going to have an impossible time trying to decipher. So once again, I bring it back to keep it simple. Don't expect everything to change tomorrow. It takes time, and that time comes from you carving out time and then being patient. That change will happen, but it takes time. Choose one thing, start one thing. Just start now, start that one thing. That's it. So I'm going to go over just a few ideas. We have lots of one things that we could do. I could go through 20 or 30 one things you could do to get healthy. One thing that would be one of the first things you could potentially do is look at your portion sizes. We talked about portion sizes, how they've increased significantly in the last 20 years. All you need is your hand. This is your relative ability to look at what is a normal portion size for me. My hand fits for me. A 2-year-old's hand fits for them. A 50-year-old man's hand fits for him, right? So you have your hand, and all you need to do is look at that protein. Here's the chicken down here in the corner. That protein should fit right here in the palm of your hand, just right there at the palm of your hand, not 2 hands, right? Sometimes we have chicken on the plate and it could be 2 hands, or as big as 2 hands folded together. Too much protein. Too much protein, too many calories. So a size of a deck of cards, another good example of protein foods like salmon or chicken or beef or eggs or beans are a protein food. The next thing we could look at is grains. Grains are just a fist, the top of the fist, the front of the fist, about a half a cup. Teaspoon of butter on your toast. That's not very much butter, is it? Tablespoon of peanut butter on your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Not very much peanut butter, is it? What do we do? Multiple knives of peanut butter on our peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, 3 to 4 tablespoons sometimes. Ice cream, 1 cup, right? The size of your whole fist, not 3 fists. So that would be one way to get started, is to simply look at portion size, and you get to take your hand wherever you go. So you've got it right there, easy to do. The other thing is simply fiber. Fiber is doesn't get the credit that it deserves. So fiber, we've got to get back to our roots, the roots of where our vegetables and fruits come from. And nothing fancy. You don't have to be a gourmet cook. There's lots of great recipes out there to how to make veggies taste delicious, although I think they're delicious just the way they are. They're super great to look at because they're colorful. They're also crunchy, so they're satisfying. And you could start with 2 cups at lunch and dinner. 2 cups would be 2 fistfuls. 2 cups of vegetables at lunch and dinner. Anybody able to do that yet? I'm a dietitian and it's hard, but it's good to do. You could do it. So I love this picture. So if we look at this picture, it's simply portion size and simply fiber. This is an 8-inch plate, not a 12-inch plate. Typically our plates are even too big. So when we prepare our plate and we fill up our plate, we're even starting with too big of a plate, too big of a portion size. But we have the grains up here in the right-hand corner, what we talked about, just the top of the fist. These are the grains, I'm sorry, grains in the bottom right. We have the proteins in the top right-hand corner, which is the palm of our hand. And then the other half of our plate, the whole entire other half of our plate is fruits and vegetables. Looks beautiful, very colorful. Another great thing about fiber that is rewarding is fiber you have to chew. Vegetables and fruit you have to chew. It can extend your meal by 15 or 20 minutes by eating 2 cups of fruits or vegetables. So not only do you get to sit longer with your family or your friends, you get to crunch more because fruits and vegetables are crunchy and take more chewing. When we eat more, when we actually chew more and make that motion of eating, we actually become more satisfied with our meal. So if you think about, if you've been to McDonald's or any other fast food restaurant, or even a regular out to dinner meal, you can tend to eat those foods very quickly because there's not a lot of texture. There's not a lot of crunch, so you don't have to chew very much. And the mouthfeel, the fat, is very easy to eat quickly. You're not as satisfied, though, because you didn't actually get to chew the item. So sometimes I see this as a predicament as well with people who drink smoothies. So smoothies can be good, they can be nutritious, but they can be packed with sugar, fructose, natural sugar, but then you also don't always get the satisfaction that you need chewing. So you're drinking something and then you're still not satisfied. So I would always say turn to the fresh fruits and vegetables. The other thing that fiber gives us is that fullness. It gives us an increased feeling of fullness, which improves our satiety, our satisfaction with the meal as well. The next thing, which doesn't really have to do with nutrition, but is just as important as nutrition, if not more important, is simply make a move. Just move, right? We just have to get up and move. Start your day with a walk or stretching. Take a 10-minute walk after breakfast. Wall sits and push-ups when you go to the bathroom. If you did 10 wall push-ups, 10 wall push-ups, so just against the wall, you don't have to get down on the ground. 10 wall push-ups every time you went to the restroom. That alone is going to increase muscle mass on your back, your shoulders. It's going to get that blood flow moving. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to wake up everything in your body. So adding those little things to your day doesn't add a lot of time, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, really important for getting that body moving again. Share lunchtime with a walk. Lunch is just not all about food. Have a simple lunch, eat your 2 cups of vegetables, and make sure you have time for a 10 to 20-minute walk. 30-day exercise challenges are awesome. They're all over YouTube. 30 days, you can do 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. You name it, wherever you start, give yourself a challenge and say, you know what? I don't exercise, but I can do 10 minutes a day. And that's all I'm going to do. And I don't have to get up and have 45 minutes extra in the morning. And I don't have to join a gym. I don't need to get new clothes. I don't have to buy a $3,000 treadmill. Get on YouTube, find a 10-minute a day, 30-day challenge and do it. You won't regret it. Make leisure time playtime. Go for a hike, take a bike ride, do something physical when you have the opportunity to not do anything, right? When you just get to enjoy life, make sure you're moving. Don't sit and keep yourself back on that chair. Okay, so these are some other things that are super great for people to add into their lifestyle, especially if they have a sedentary life. They work at home or they work in the office. So for example, this might be your home office here, sitting on a chair, looking at a wall at the desk. This is a Pilates ball. Pilates ball is going to help you with your posture. It makes you sit and have control over your legs, your posture, your core, so that you're not just sitting in a chair being not engaged, right? And so even today, I'm on my Pilates chair. I'm not bouncing the whole time during my talk because that would be annoying. So what do I have to do? I have to strengthen my legs, I have to hold my back up, and I have to strengthen my core. And all of those things wake up our body. They keep us from being sedentary. Super easy to do, not expensive. Stand-up desk, get yourself a stand-up desk. Figure out a way to build a stand-up desk. You can put books and boxes up and you can create your own stand-up desk. It doesn't have to be expensive. The great thing about the stand-up desk is you can alternate. I'm going to stand up for 45 minutes. I'm going to sit down for 45 minutes. Just standing alone will increase your strength of your ankles, your knees. You can even do some exercises while you're standing up that will help keep that blood flow moving and keep you in a more active position. Take the stairs wherever you go. Take the stairs. There's no reason to get in the elevator. Just take the stairs, right? These are things that you probably heard about, people think about, but they don't do. We just need to take the stairs. Simply exercise 10 to 20 minutes a day. Choose something you like to do. Make it a variety, change it up. You can have a goal. Maybe you want to do a 5K with a friend. Use an app to track your progress. Exercise with a friend, get outside, make it fun. Doesn't have to be, like I said, 45 minutes a day. Just start small, 10 minutes a day. Things like walking, hiking, swimming. The TRX suspension training is super inexpensive and easy to get. Follow any program that you want to try. You can dance. This is the TRX system. You can get this and put it in your house against your door. You can do that for 10 minutes a day. There's also all kinds of videos you can find online or join a program that sets you up for success. What are we talking about? Keep it simple. Don't expect everything to change tomorrow, and make sure that you know you need to carve out the time, because time is what it takes for you to make change and for change to happen. So what do you know today is the choices you make today are going to create habits for a lifetime. It's not a diet, because you can't go on it, because you can't come off of it. It's a habit. It's small habits, simple habits that you can do to have a healthy lifestyle that helps you prevent diabetes, heart disease, and so many long-term consequences of chronic disease if you make those healthy choices now. So once again, my name is Annie McKenna. I'm a dietitian with mycatholicdoctor.com. I am available for personal consultation. I really enjoyed being with you guys today. I thank you for attention.